Hi y'all, welcome to Petite Weaver Crafts episode 15. I'm recording here today on September 12th, 2016. This is a video podcast about knitting, spinning, weaving, and all the crafty things that I get myself into. Thank you so much for joining me, new viewers, and if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back every week. So today I have two finished objects, some stash, and some works in progress that I have picked back up, as well as some new projects in mind. Let's get started. So for finished objects, I finished two pretty big projects this week. The first one is my Improv sweater. So this sweater is part of the Fringe and Friends knit along, and it is a top-down raglan knit along where you develop your own pattern based off of your measurements and your own designs. So I went with a simple stockinette sweater with a brioche collar on the sweater. So here's the finished product. It doesn't look like much, but it fits me perfectly, and that's kind of the struggles that I always have with knitting patterns. I have slightly abnormal measurements from what is standard, which is kind of BS anyway because no one is a standard size. But these tutorials really helped me design my own sweater the way that I wanted it to look and the way that I wanted it to fit. So I'll insert a picture of me wearing it here. My favorite part of the sweater is this kind of angled scooped bottom hem along with the brioche collar on it. I think it fits really well, and I love the way this turned out. So after I finish the sweater, I feel super empowered to design my own sweaters based off of what I want them to look like, as well as how to adjust patterns to fit me better. The next big project that I want to start working on, I'm just waiting for the yarn to come in, is a Gryffindor house sweater to wear to Universal Studios Harry Potter World in October when my friends come to visit from Texas. So kind of the sweater that I had pictured in my head was a kind of charcoal gray v-neck cardigan with some accent stripes of the house colors on the cuffs and the hem. Other than that, I haven't quite decided what I want the main body to look like, if there'll be textured stitches or maybe a lace panel in the back, or even some cabling. I know that's pretty much the whole range of possibilities. I haven't quite decided yet, but for sure it's a v-neck cardigan with a little bit of accent colors at the cuffs and the hem. So I'll keep you guys updated on what my plans are, and once I get the yarn in, I'll show you guys that as well. So if you haven't checked out the Fringe Association's top-down knit-along blog posts, I will link them down below as well. And you should definitely check them out. If anything, it gives you really useful tips on how to knit a top-down sweater. So my next finished object, I squeezed this shawl out pretty quickly. This was the MadTosh yarns that I picked up from Wildfiber Studios in Santa Monica. I knit up the Quill Shawl, which is part of Helen Stewart's Shawl Society. This was the 4th pattern in that series. And this is a DK weight shawl, and it's triangle shaped. And you've heard me say that I don't like knitting triangle shaped shawls before, and that's mostly because I get bored about halfway through a fingering weight triangle shaped shawl, and sometimes I get a little bit frustrated with the sheer number of stitches that goes along with a triangle shaped shawl, since you have both legs of the triangles on the needles at the same time. It's a lot of stitches. The shape is a little weird. And I have a little bit of a hard time figuring out how to style a triangle shaped shawl, since they do tend to be so long. But since this Quill shawl is a DK weight shawl, I figured that I could power through it and have like a nice large shawl for the plane or something like that. So here is the finished product. So as I said, this is a triangle shaped shawl with some striping, and at the bottom there is this kind of eyelet chevron-y pattern. It kind of represents the quill design of a feather. For the shawl, it required 300-gram skeins of approximately 240 yards apiece. And I was a little bit worried that I was going to run out of yarn since I was using the MadTosh skein, which is I think only like 210 yards or so. So I went down a needle size and used a size 7 needle instead of the size 8 that was recommended in the pattern. So I ended up running out of color B, which is this lighter color with the speckles, which is Holi Festival. So for the last row of the pattern, as well as the bind off, I used this yellow color, which is Candlewick, instead of Holi Festival. And this lovely magenta color is Coquette. So this is a very large shawl, as you can tell. The wingspan is about 2 yards wide, and the depth is about a yard. So yeah, it's a very large shawl, which will be great on the plane. I will be traveling to Japan later this year, so I am looking forward to having something nice and cozy to wrap up in for a long flight. If you guys haven't knit shawls before, this pattern was actually really, really nice to knit. It was a little bit less of an investment since it is a DK weight shawl, so you can get it done a little bit quicker than like a lace weight shawl. But yeah, it was quite a change from the Asana shawl that I knit previously, which is lace weight with beads. So yeah, I had a very, very good time, and I can't wait to see what the next shawl is in the Shawl Society. Up next is Stash. So for the Ravelinic Games, which is the knit along that's hosted on Woolery during the Olympics, I entered my shawl into one of the contests, and I won a prize. So I won this lovely sock blank, and it was dyed by the High Fiber Diet, and she does have a Etsy shop called the High Fiber Diet. And it's a single knit sock blank dyed in kind of a tie-dye form of yellows, greens, and blues. This isn't one of the colors that I normally gravitate to, so I'm looking forward to knitting with this. I think I will be making a sock head hat out of this. As I mentioned last week, I am knitting a bunch of hats as Christmas presents and such, as part of the Harvest Hat Along, hosted by Twisted Stitches podcast and the Kiltercraft podcast. So you guys should check it out. So yeah, the sock head hat pattern is a basic slouchy hat pattern with a nice wide rib band for the bottom, and then the main body of the slouchy hat is just plain stockinette. So I think it'll be really fun to see how these colors kind of knit up in that in a plain stockinette, and how close they'll actually be to the way it looks in the sock blank. That's it for my stash this week, but I do have a Knit Picks package coming in the mail pretty soon, and I should have it by next week. So up next is works in progress. I only have one work in progress this week, since I bound off both of my really big projects. I picked back up my Meridien cardigan by Joji Locatelli. This cardigan, I didn't get much more progress on it. I finished only a few extra rows. You can see where the marker is where I started. It with Forbidden Woolery's Pride Lace in their Archangel Wings colorway. And I'm knitting these on a size 2 needle. So it's quite a bit of a change from my DK weight shawl that I just finished. But as I mentioned before, this is a super interesting cardigan since the bottom band is knit first, and then you pick up to knit the back and the shoulders and sleeves. Yeah, I was excited to pick this back up. This pattern has some lovely stitch details at the bottom here. And yeah, I'm slogging along. Hopefully now that I've focused a little bit more, I will get a little bit more progress done on this project. So that's it for my works in progress this week. I'm sure I will have a bunch more projects to show you guys next week. For sure, I will cast on that sock head hat, and hopefully I'll make quite a bit of progress on my Meridien cardigan. as well as starting the planning phases of my Gryffindor house sweater. And as far as sewing, I didn't get any sewing done, but I will be posting part 1 of 2 of how to design and sew your own circle skirt tomorrow. Part 1 is going to be calculations and how to draft your own skirt pattern, and then part 2 will be the sewing and how to hem. So look forward to seeing those soon. So this past weekend, I actually got to meet up with the hosts of the Skein Enable podcast, Jill and Michelle, as well as Twee from the Twisted Stitches podcast. We met up for brunch with Little Miss Lady, and had a wonderful, get together, and we did some knitting, and this was actually the first time I met Michelle. It was a lot of fun getting to hang out with everyone and knit together. We were in Melrose, so I'm sure we got a few strange looks from people walking by. Yeah, Lady had a wonderful time meeting everyone, and I had a great time. I get a little weird about meeting new people sometimes. I get a little anxious, but it was wonderful, and I definitely think we'll be doing it again, and hopefully maybe we can arrange something where we can meet up with some of our other LA-based viewers. Last but not least, there's a couple of upcoming events that I want to let you guys know about. Next weekend is Worldwide Spin in Public Day, so you guys should definitely check out the website and see if there's anything in your area, and if you're interested, go and check out the events and see what everyone's up to. It's a great time to talk with other spinners and hang out, and time to spread the word that spinning is not just like a craft of the past, that there's a great resurgence in spinning. Alrighty, that's it for me this week. Thank you as always for taking the time to listen to me. You can find me on Instagram or Ravelry as Petite Weaver. I also have detailed show notes with links at petiteweavercrafts.blogspot.com. You can also search for the Ravelry group, Petite Weaver Crafts, and message me there if you have any questions. Thank you so much, you guys, and see y'all next week. Bye!